My name is Eugene Lee, and I am the CEO co-founder of Channel Meter. I want to welcome you all today to today's fireside chat. So I want to quickly start by sharing why we are here today. My company, Channel Meter, we provide payment solutions for media companies and brands to pay creators. Think of it as like the ADP or paychecks for creators. And it's something we got really good at. We paid over the course of the past few years hundreds of thousands of creators, over $250 million in YouTube earnings and creator earnings, brand earnings, etc. We've learned a lot about creators, and we touch creators through our clients of all shapes and sizes, from the beginning to the middle, all the way to those who are doing really well, building an enterprise media company. And we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot, and we got to see a lot of those journeys along that path. And one of the stories that I'm really excited to share with you guys today is a story of Onyx Media. And I want to introduce Rita and Marthel Mitchell, who is joining us today in today's fireside chat.
Hi. How are you doing?
Hi, Marthel.
We're good.
Yeah, we're doing well.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today. Maybe we can quickly get started by you introducing yourselves, both yourselves, and telling us a little bit about Onyx.
Okay, you want to go first?
My name is Marthel, and I kind of consider myself the heart of Onyx Star Media, and this is Rita, and she's the brains. And so I'll let her take over.
Basically, he calls me the brains reason is because years ago when I was working as a nurse practitioner, I was really tired, I was burnt out, and I really wanted to do something different with my life. I was at a crossroads, and I knew that if I didn't make a change, that I was about to get locked into something that I would have to do for many years, which was starting this medical company with these doctors. And I knew that that wasn't really my passion. I really wanted to work with my family, so I started to do some research, and I found that, hey, maybe we could do something on YouTube. And basically, with all the research and everything, I kind of gathered the family together, and we basically started our YouTube journey. So that's why he calls me the brains of it.
Yeah, she figured it out.
Amazing. Well, before we dive into the world of Onyx Media, tell us what the Mitchell family was like pre-Onyx. Tell us, I understand, Rita, you're coming from the medical background. I'd love to hear a little bit about Marthel's. How you guys met, who your family is, and all the above.
Well, we're married for now 22 years. We met in university, a place called Oakwood University. It's a HSBCU.
HBCU.
Yeah. It's historically Black college university. And we got married. We have 4 children.
We met in January, and we were married by the December.
Right. So super quick.
All of our family and friends were like, "That is wild. Doing? What are you doing?"
Right.
So.
But we were in love, crazy in love, and we have 4 children, and many of you know them, and they are the Onyx kids. So before they were the Onyx kids, I was actually a pastor. I was a minister, and Rita was the first lady, and they were PKs. They were pastors' kids.
Right.
And you know, and part of my passion has always been for family. So I also got my background is in marriage and family therapy. So I've had marriage and family therapy business for about 20 years now as well, as a marriage and family educator, and got a degree in master's in science in marriage and family therapy because I knew that I needed to be competent to be able to go before a lot of the challenges that people faced in the congregation. Well, that just so happens to truly help me out at this point in time, because right now my passion is still there for family and marriage. We just do it in a different way. Instead of doing it from the pulpit, you know, we do it in the form of skits and just sharing that passion and that love. And that's why I say I'm the heart, because I have such a passion for the families that we are touching and making them laugh. But she's a brains because she came up with the entire thing.
Well, that's great. Let's dive into that. Tell us the genesis of Onyx, going back to, let's say, 2016. Rita, tell us how it began. What led to the culmination of this channel, and then the sequence of the other channels too? I'd love to hear about that as well.
Well, when we first started doing the research on YouTube to see how I could work with my family on YouTube, I started to see that at the time, what was really popular were like superheroes and things like that. And although they're no longer something very popular, in fact, they've been twisted now, at the time, it was very fun as a family to do. So that's where we first started. We first started with our kids and us. We would write these little skits and we would get up in superhero costumes and we would just do, we didn't even have like words at the time. It was just music. So how I started the kids, because remember, like Marthel was saying, they were pastors' kids. So I wasn't even sure if they were going to even want to do something where they would be online. So how I started with the costumes was that I had them covered from head to toe. And nobody really knew who they were. And I just wanted to see if they would enjoy it. When I asked them, hey, would you guys like to do a family project, like work together with superheroes on YouTube? They were like, they thought it was weird at first. And then they thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's have fun. And I don't even think they knew.
Right.
So, yeah. So basically after that, we did that for about 9 months. And I started to realize like, wow, this is great and all. But at the end of the day, we don't own this IP. This is, it's Marvel and Disney and stuff. And I thought, how could we ever tour? How could we ever really move forward as a company if we're just using somebody else's IP? And so I brought the family together again and I said, listen, we need to come up with a brand name for us and we need to unmask now, because by that time, everyone was fully comfortable and excited. And that's what we did. And we came up with the Onyx name.
So kind of going back a little bit, there was a transition time between the time that I was a pastor and Rita was a nurse practitioner at the time. And so at that time, I had transitioned away from ministry to support Rita in a medical company in Florida. And so I kind of retired from ministry at that point in time. I was Canadian. I didn't know what I was really going to do. And so at that particular point in time, when we were actually doing YouTube before we became the Onyx family, things were kind of challenging for us financially because Rita was now the only person working and we were still trying to establish ourselves as a family. And so when we first got into this YouTube, the very first month, Rita she did such a good job at researching that the very first month, it showed like huge earnings. And I was like, whoa. And she had already been saying, I kind of don't want to do this medical, practitioner model community work. I kind of don't want to really do that anymore, but I'm not sure. Let me check this thing out. And I was like, well, I don't know, because what if it doesn't work? Like, you're the only person working. And when we got that first paycheck, that was it for us. That was like, whoa, that was definitive. Right. Yeah. We had never made that kind of money before. Up until that point in time, we had years of struggling and trying to make ends meet. And
because I got married young.
Yeah.
We were married and doing school and working full time. And we weren't really settled for years, even though he was working as a minister. A lot of people know ministers don't make a lot of money. So it was just years of trying to get our
and then student loans and trying to get back, paying off debt because we were in school the whole time as we were having children. So it's like, but once that paycheck came in, I was like, hun, you know what? If you don't want to do this medical practitioner, this thing, that's okay. That's totally fine with me. I'm good.
Well, I want to dive into that. But before I do, I have to quickly mention the hashtag, because we would love to hear questions from the audience. And before the producers get any more mad at me, because I already fumbled with unmuting myself, but it is VC Now Onyx Family. That's the hashtag VC VidCon VC Now Onyx Family. Please hashtag us any questions, and we will take the questions and we will answer them towards the tail end of this fireside chat. And I believe we'll have some slowly streaming in. Rita and Marthel, can I talk about that check? Because people are asking. What was that check? Tell us what that was and where you were like, oh my God, like this is life-changing here.
Well, before I tell you the check, while I was a minister, we had many, many months where our bank balance was in the negative. Like,
well, that's because, you know, the fees, basically the overdraft fees.
right.
And I would try not to even have overdraft fees in that account. It was ridiculous. So
right. So it was very challenging.
Bad
cycle, and just trying to get out of that negative cycle.
Right.
And just challenging, because we were actually living in the States, but I was traveling across the border to work in Canada. So international feelings of exchanging my paycheck was killing me. I'm from Toronto, so that it was just killing me. So a lot of things were really challenging. So I just wanted to give you the background about the struggle and how real the struggle was.
With the struggle already, you guys were like, we're already hurting. Let's just do something creative, and that moment hit. Right. A really, really special moment, because you knew in the back of your mind you had negative balance bank account or close to it, and you were like, wow, this is a godsend almost, right?
Right, a godsend for sure.
And also, I was working, like he said, I was working as a nurse practitioner, and I had several jobs, and I was actually making pretty good money at that point, but I wasn't putting away for taxes, because this is the first time I worked as a 1099, right. And I really wasn't sure what to do. All I know is that we were swimming in cash, but I wasn't saving it. And all of a sudden, April 15th was coming. And so now I was really stressed. Like, okay, we've got, you know.
So past life, past her salary, struggling. New life, she's a nurse practitioner and in a medical company, and money's flowing, but we're trying to catch up now.
Trying to catch up, exactly.
So this is where it hit. So our first check that went into the bank was a large 5 figures, and we were just like,
yeah. And then after that, it was
6 figures from
the
then.
Next month,
and kept on. I'm sorry.
It's a monthly check.
Monthly check for 6 figures after that every month, which we never could have imagined that it would be that good.
And I want to unravel that a little bit, because I think what's really unique about your story is the speed of how fast that happened. How many videos would you say you uploaded till you got to that regular 6 figures? How many videos were you in? Because what I'm trying to assess here is like, how steep was your learning curve, or did you guys just immediately jump into it? And this will go to my next question if you want to answer this. You know, when did you start? Like, what was that moment of like, hey, we're on to something?
I think that it was not so much the amount of videos, but what Rita had researched was the trends that were happening at the time.
Trends, but also I learned about search engine optimization, and about really stacking that from the time you save that file on your computer and then export it from like your Final Cut Pro to your computer, to already having keywords in there, to even saving your thumbnails with keywords. And I was basically stacking it. And as you said, it wasn't, as Martha said, it wasn't really so much about the number, but at least a daily video.
Definitely
at
a daily
the time.
video, right.
But
and that helped the algorithm, because the algorithm keeps on changing. Right. So at that particular point in time, the algorithm liked the daily uploads, and it liked
and you know,
the things that we were putting in, the keywords optimizations and things like that. It liked those things.
But it was YouTube 2016, and that everything was
totally different
easier.
now.
Just a lot.
Well, you mentioned how you uploaded videos daily. So I think there's some attribution there of having consistent frequency of content. So it seems like that. Real quickly though, Rita, I'm sure some people are begging to know, how are you searching for trends? How did you surface those trends? And as a person, you know, who's so keen on research, I think that's a great clue for a lot of creators today who are starting right now.
For me, one, I made sure I was looking on YouTube at all the similar channels. I subscribed to everybody who was in our similar niche at the time. I then also would read articles all about how to get views on your video. But I didn't just read like how to get views on video. What I started to do was also just learn in general what search engine optimization was about. Because prior to that, I had never even knew the term search engine optimization. it was only after I started to look up, like, okay, why don't my videos have views? Because, you know, in our first video, we got like, what, 9 views? And we were like, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah, where's our
And
1,000?
yeah, it was like, where's my million? You know? And then after that, I started to read up a lot on that. And that's when I basically found, oh, so there's a lot of articles. I would comb through the internet. I mean, page after page after page of Google search engine results and read each article and see how do I really grow our viewership.
So that's great. I love that. And you're also managing multiple channels. I believe you guys have you have like 4 or 5 channels, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 6. But I mean, I'd like to, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have so many. I really wouldn't. But there's 2 reasons why we do. One of them is because we have the parents, obviously, and then the 4 kids. And so at the time, they each wanted to do their own thing. But then when we started to kind of make it more cohesive, where we were doing a general brand, then each channel became something more designated. Like we have a gaming channel, or we have a kids channel, and on, like a lifestyle channel. But also we had to create other channels, because when YouTube would do something weird with the algorithm, we needed backup channels, and it became also a thing of protection. So, but if I could do it over, I would probably only have maybe 2 or 3 channels max. I just think it takes a lot of time, and I do think that your views can get diluted. So
yeah, and I want to just real quickly state some stats here. We are an analytics company. They have something about 6 or 7 million subscribers in total across their channels. I know you guys cleared over 1 billion views, which I think is a metric a lot of people don't talk about. And you guys are consistently adding more and more types of content to each of those individual channels. So you guys are not just a single channel. You guys are kind of like a mini network of channels. And so I'd love to learn. Tell me the journey from when you started your first channel. You're starting to make money, and tell us the next steps. Like what were the next series of events that happened, and you're like, okay, this is something we're going to do full time. This is something that we're going to do all together full time, and we're all in as a family, because I love that side of the story.
Well, we were doing, like Rita said, superhero stuff, superhero videos. Mm-hmm. And those videos, like she said, we were all masked up and all covered up. Part of the reason why was because we were not familiar with YouTube. We felt a little intimidated by putting our family out there in the public, and we're thinking about privacy and security issues. But we also had a little bit of reservation as to how YouTube would accept us as a Black family.
Right.
And so when we were covering up, we were doing that for multiple reasons. And one of them was just that we were a Black family and we didn't know how our audience would meet us. But by the time that we had gotten to probably 3 months in or 4 months in, we had a really good, solid fan base. And so we decided, especially because superhero stuff, like she said, was getting hit hard, and it wasn't our IP. We said, okay, we got a brand. We have to make sure that it's our IP. And it's time for us to reveal ourselves. And so when we revealed ourselves, we already had a fan base that was like, oh, wow, we love you guys. And we transitioned to Onyx family, and it was Onyx kids at first. And that's kind of like how it happened. Now, our views were starting to go down on our first channel, because YouTube was actually penalizing you if you were doing superhero stuff. They didn't like it. They didn't like how the trends were going. We weren't doing a lot of the things that other people were doing, but they still didn't like the overall genre. Right. So our views started going down. Our money started going down. So right at the nick of time, we were able to interject this new concept of Onyx Kids and the Onyx brand, and automatically, boom, we started going back up, and we went up higher than we had ever been, even with the other brand that we had.
Right.
That's all. What was that content shift? You went from superheroes to Onyx Kids. What was the meat of the Onyx Kids type of content?
That's when we started doing like situational skits. like superhero stuff had no talking.
Right.
It was all about music in the background and editing. But Onyx now was situational comedy, situational skits, where we're actually talking about,
right.
things
But it
that kids
was
go through.
in the beginning, it was mostly our two youngest. And then the two oldest were like extra characters. So they would be interacting with those characters. It was almost like a brother versus sister thing. And so it was like fantasy with situational stuff. And it was like them being themselves. And then what we also did was we started to say, if we wanted to get searched, we wanted to be searched under our names. So we started using like our names, like, our, Onyx Kids or Shiloh and Shasha, like those are the names we started to put because we wanted people to be able to find us for who we are and our brand versus just, titling it with some trendy name.
Right.
We knew that we needed to be a trend for us. And one of the things that I had never intended to be on camera, but we were given the advice that, hey, you're a Black family here. They want to see the parents. And we were given this advice from like multiple people from multiple directions. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just do a few skits here and there. And we also started to hear from our fans, like, where's your parents?
Do you guys have parents?
Yeah.
Like we'd go through the supermarket and fans would like run up to like the kids and they would be like, oh, you guys live alone. You guys don't have parents. Like these are the kids, mom, that live alone. They have their own house.
Yeah. They're probably aspirational to the kids who were like, oh God, look at that. They're living on their own. I should be doing this on my own. Well, that was funny. Yeah. So it sounds like you were building the personalities, and that's what attracted the audiences. And so my next question to that is that did you see a shift of audience? Going from superhero to the personality, situational awareness, did you see a shift in your audience? Did you start to see a different type of audience that you didn't see before?
Well, I think it was the same audience because the kids just stayed with us on the channel. The fans stayed with us. But when they saw our face, they became more loyal fans. And when we would go places, because there was a face to actually interact with, it was so much better. I think the viewership was so much better because you had the interaction.
I think instead we actually heard more from the parents after that. Like them thanking us for being on there and showing Black creators, especially for that genre for children. So we got a lot of feedback from parents that were really glad that we were on there showing who we were. And it's funny because a lot of people said, oh, we knew you guys were Black, and they just seemed excited because, they would see a little peek here and there. And
like through the costume, like in the gloves, you'd see a little skin and they'd be like, we knew you guys were Black or something like that. But
in a very positive way.
And I was very happy for that because it affirmed to us that our audience base loved us for our content.
Right. I want to touch on that topic because I think it's important. I want to talk about something before that. And I think a lot of parent creators face this. You guys might have gotten flack. Why expose your children? Why do this? Did you ever kind of have doubt in yourself? Are we doing the right thing of putting our family out there, putting our children on camera? And how did you get over it? Because I'm sure there are a lot of parents who are wrestling with this question itself.
I personally never had any reservation because everything that we did, first of all, we homeschooled our kids their entire life. So that's kind of like the background of our family. And so in homeschool, while we have the traditional education, we also had unorthodox education where we're looking at the skills and the interest of our kids and the talents that they had and the giftedness that they had inside. And that also was a part of the way that it drove curriculum. So when we knew that our kids were creative. We knew that they were talented. We didn't know that they would be YouTubers, but we knew that the things that were developing in them were definitely on the art side. They love to draw. They love to act. They love to sing and participate in those things. So for us, it was almost an extension of their homeschool. And then Rita took it to another level because now she was also not only giving them the opportunity to shine with their creativity and their giftedness, she started teaching them the business side of things so that they'd learn about money and finance and being an entrepreneur and how to film, the background scenes, how to write a script,
how to edit. I also brought them in on contracts so that they see, you know, how to look for what to look for in the contracts. Like when we're doing brand deals, how to write different proposals. I really brought them on in the business section really early. And when we incorporated, I made each of them equal partners so that it was never just like a for me and Mirthel thing. But also to touch on, as a parent, our kids, they look younger than they really are.
Right.
So like right now, our oldest is going to be 21 this year. So we have a 20-year-old
20-year-old in 1 month.
Yeah, a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. So this was.
That's everybody to watching. If you haven't seen the Onyx family, I've seen their kids and I bet they're incredibly well behaved, but it makes sense. I thought they were 12 and 13 years old. I was like, wow. So reality, they're 17, 18 years old.
Right. So it's like when we started, we didn't have that whole. You know, they were so young, they didn't have a choice. They literally had a choice because they were like in their teens. And it was like, except for Shiloh, who was younger. And with him, it was always like, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. Right. The older girls and Shiloh, though, were all like, let's do this. This looks fun. And you talk to them, like they are so happy that they've got the opportunity to do this, because I think it brought out something in them that they didn't even know they had. And the fact that we more started it out as, let's do something as a family. Because at the time, I never knew it would be this popular. I never knew we'd be this successful. I was actually going to do this as a side project. I knew I wanted, you know, to get more financially stable. But at the end of the day, I never thought it would be like this, you know. So it's been a really positive thing for our family all around. But again, I don't really have maybe the struggle of someone maybe who has a baby or even a toddler, because we just never had that option. But just them being older, they were always on board. And and
even recently, we made sure that we set everything up so that they would be able to get accepted into university of their choice and all that stuff. So they graduated a year and a half ago, or
the two older ones.
The two older ones graduated a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Right.
And when they graduated, they got accepted into their university of choice. And but before they actually went, they were like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to go the path of having my own business. I like what I do. And then they just said, Mom and Dad, you know, we don't want to go to university. We want to do this. And they made that choice themselves. So really, in our situation, it may be a little bit different than others. Our children have been a strong driving force as to who the Onyx family is and what they're going to pursue. They're telling us what they want to do, and we're facilitating.
Yeah, that's a testament to you guys as parents. I want to talk about two things. Sorry, there's a couple questions that are coming in, and I want to address them. But before I address those, I want to talk about struggle, because you know the narrative of today, it says from the struggle to the struggle life to the Onyx life. But as Black content creators, there's a different sense of struggle. The struggle that a non-Black creator or a creator who doesn't have the challenge you do, it's different. And I'd love you guys to touch on the struggle that you guys went through as Black creators. And I think it's important to share, because individual creators have their individual journeys. But I think there is a different path a person of color will endure or go through in this journey.
Right.
I know that we've always remained conscious that our community could always continue to use leaders and influencers that are helping to build the overall Black community. And so I would say a burden that would always be on us, it's a good burden, it's not a bad burden, to make sure that we know that we are trying to be the most positive influence on that community as possible. When you look at the statistics and you see the brokenness even of the family within the Black community, and not getting into the roots of anything, but just the situation as it is, we understand that we could be a very positive influence by just the kids, just observing a father in the home with a mother, married for 22 years, playing with the children, and encouraging them in their skill set, being encouraging. All of this stuff is sort of healing. We believe it's healing.
But the thing is, it's like we as Black creators, we know that exists all throughout our community.
Right.
A lot of fathers in the home with their children.
Absolutely.
It's just that we are not portrayed that way in the mainstream media. So what's important to us is that we were on YouTube and we were sharing with the world that this is this is what exists. Mm-hmm. And it's not always what you only see on the mainstream.
Right. We represent a good portion of our community that does exist. It's just not being shown.
Yeah.
You know, like back in the 80s, they showed the character Cosby Show, you know, and that's why so many people gravitated to that, because it showed something that a lot of people aspire to have.
You know, that's really interesting. If you're willing to share, are there certain struggles do you believe that you face as Black creators that others may have not had in their journey of going from where they, you know, where you guys were to where you guys are now, if you guys are willing to share?
Yes. So for example, usually when there is some sort of algorithm change or policy change, what we have noticed consistently is that Black creators tend to get hit worse, and it's long lasting. Whereas we've seen other creators who are non-Black, they've been able to kind of maintain their business and continue to grow it. We know people personally, and if we were to get more into even our story, we basically have to keep on rebuilding every couple of years, rebuilding. Whereas on some creators who are non-Black, they don't have that issue. That's not to say that there aren't non-Black creators who get shut down or for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, we have noticed that, and we have personal stories of where we have seen things like there are different policy changes not enacted fairly.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And and
it doesn't apply equally to everybody.
And then the algorithm not really grouping us in with actual other family and kid creators, almost like we're an island to ourselves. So that also impacts our viewership and then our overall business.
So we were privy to a study that was done on YouTube. They were doing it on YouTube, and that study showed that there are certain groupings that take place for family creators. And in those groupings, Black families were not being grouped together. But if you were grouped together, it favors you, the algorithm favors you, and it's easier for you to be recommended along the side for the people that are grouped in. But Black families in that particular study was shown that we were being represented as islands in and of itself. That means that it was not favoring us to be always recommended.
And it's not really about the views. It's more just about, what does this say about the algorithm? Are we not a family and kid channel? Or are we something just outside of it? Are we something that's another entity when we're trying to say we're just as much a family and kid channel as the rest of them? So another
situation that we had was that there was two families. One was ours and one was a non-white family.
A non-white family?
A non-Black family, I'm sorry. And in that particular situation, when the person that was advocating for both families came to YouTube reversed one, did not reverse our situation. And when the person said to them, well, why didn't they reverse the other family?
It was a mistake on YouTube's part. Just make it quick. It was a mistake on YouTube's part. And me and our channel and another channel were both hit with something that was an error on YouTube's part. But instead of reversing ours like they reversed the other channel, they said, well, that one will expire in 30 days. That strike or whatever will expire in 30 days. So that's basically the kind of stuff that we have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, so it sounds like the systemic biases go down beyond just the algorithm. It goes actually to the core of the business in itself. And that's really, really unfortunate.
However, I want to make it clear though that YouTube has changed the lives of so many Black families, including our own. As our story tells, like they have treated us incredible in a sense that we have the opportunity to make a difference in our lives, and many Black families have had an opportunity. And the way I kind of see it is that if you walk into anyone's house, they have the right to give you a beer or not to give you a beer. You know, they have the right to to say what they're going to give. And so what I would love is to be a part of a situation where we can create a table where we can treat everyone fairly. And I think that it's not so much that we haven't been treated well where we were able to get. It's just to ensure that everybody is being treated fairly. And that's one of the things we appreciate about YouTube, is because they've given many Black families opportunities. Now the question is how can we make sure that the platforms that we have that are to the general public, that they are fairly represented? Because things like Black children still need to see faces that resemble them. And if we are not being careful, that doesn't happen, that's really unfair to even the audience, that they don't get to see faces that resemble them.
Absolutely. I would love to talk more on this. We're running short on time. I feel like this is a topic on all in itself that we can go very, very deep on. But just for the sake of time, because we do only have about 6 or 7 minutes left, I want to make sure we have room for Q&A. Let's talk about the opportunity YouTube did give you guys. You guys, if we can transition to that side, you guys have blown up. You're one of the biggest family channels out there. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I think one of the biggest Black family channels out there. Tell me where Onyx is today. Tell us about where you guys gone today. And I'd love to also, because I know people are going to ask, what does the future look like, right? Where do you guys want to go? And I'd like to fit this into the next few minutes here.
Well, for us, where we are today, we have our content on YouTube, but also on multiple platforms like Roku, even on Hulu, and Amazon and other places like that. We've also started to get into book publishing, and we've, our kids, they're very talented. And so we've also gotten into music and and blogging and lots of things that we are just doing online. And we're doing this, to reach the audience in different places. And something really important for us that we did was we partnered with Pocket Watch now in order to expand further and really bring our brand onto a franchise level. So we do have a animated series coming out, hopefully I think this year, and it's called Onyx Monster Mysteries. And that I think is going to bring us definitely on a more worldwide stage. And I think we're really, really excited about that, because that's going to expand not only into the cartoon industry, but also into the merchandising and the products. And so we're really grateful to be able to partner with Pocket Watch.
Yeah, Pocket Watch is a huge, wonderful family for us. Huge opportunity and a wonderful family. We love the relationships that we've formed with them, and they're just doing really incredible things for us.
Awesome. That's great. I asked you this before, and I love everyone else to hear. When you guys were starting the network to today, what creators did you look up to back then? And then, are there any creators today that you guys look up to still as well? It's harder to look up when you're at the top, but when you were starting below, I'm sure there were people who were like, I want to be like them, I want to resemble like them. And are they still the same today?
Well, I would say for me, EvanTube. EvanTube was just huge. Shiloh used to watch him. I had the privilege of meeting the father. Incredible gentleman, just a wonderful family. And so we constantly look up to him. They're the OGs, they're the original. And I think everybody has really looked up to them as far as the family space is concerned.
Right. We also give a shout out to Naya and Ellie,
right?
Because they were, I think, one of the first, or the first actual Black family kid creators that we saw. And they were doing so extremely well. And they're still very, very popular. And they've expanded. So they were someone that we also looked up to. And
then, of course, who does not have Ryan Toys on their list, okay? Another amazing family, beautiful family, wonderful personalities. Yes. And we really, we really respect the hustle.
Right.
And two of those families that are on my list actually are a part of Pocket Watch family. Yeah. So Pocket Watch really is about investing in really quality family content creators. And they really have an eye for something good, and it means a lot to us that they saw that in us, right? And they brought us on.
That's great. I want to turn to Q&A just because we only have a few minutes left. But before we do, is there a tactical advice you give to a creator, maybe a Black creator who's starting right now, because you mentioned one word, and I think this is a word that every creator has, regardless of their background, skin color. It's hustle, just the ability to persevere and endure. Any words of wisdom?
For a new creator?
Yeah, new creator, a rising creator, all the above.
I would say continue to always research and pay attention to any algorithm changes. You don't have to keep, like for example, every time there is an algorithm change, it usually does result in some viewership loss and other changes, but you don't have to stay that way. You can literally continue to persevere and adapt. Just keep adapting. Don't give up.
Right.
Keep researching. Look at what other channels are doing. Read articles. Just keep going, because at the end of the day, we could have given up, I would say, many times, depending on the circumstance, because we've gone through a lot on our channels.
So we're facing a new generation and a new situation in society. With COVID, it's changing the game with all companies. So you do have to be able to adapt.
Right.
But the other one I would say, besides adaptation, is expansion. Right. YouTubers cannot just stay on YouTube anymore. It may be a very viable spot to do marketing, but it may not be a viable spot just to receive your sole income. And so one of the things that we have done is to ensure that we are expanding off of YouTube, going into Amazon, going into Facebook, going into we have our own app, multiple streams of income to ensure that your brand is bigger than just YouTube. Right. So create a brand. That's very important.
Awesome. I love it. We have 1 minute left. Hopefully time for 2 questions. There's a few questions that are coming in. And for the folks who we can't get all those questions on, Rita, Mirthel, and myself, we are going to hop on to the Discord. I believe that link will be below at the end of this. But just a couple questions I want to address right here. The first question is, what tools do you use for SEO? And any online framework available on YouTube optimization? Very impressive 6 figures on superhero stuff. And this is from Elton Kuai.
I feel like the question is more technical than even what I know. But basically, the search engine optimization, honestly.
It's different now, though, than 2016.
But it was different.
We gotta make sure we say that.
Basically, we do use vidIQ for, to see what are the tags and things that are relevant. And I know a lot of people say, well, tags don't matter. But when you've been doing something for years, you kind of still at least do it. But honestly, a lot of it is by what you observe. Like if you have vidIQ or TubeBuddy or even the Social Blade, and you go on the channels and you see similar videos and you see the tags that they're using and the titling, then that's what I basically follow. And then of course, just the practices of, like your first word in your description and in your title being one of what matters the most. And all of this stuff really I would just get from different articles. There's no framework as much as it's putting all the pieces together to fit what I'm doing on YouTube.
And can I add that we have a course on onyxfinancialuniversity.com.
Oh, yeah,
and that course is comprehensive. So it tells all of our secrets. It tells all the detailed things that we have done so that anyone that goes on Onyx Financial University
right.
will be able to get everything that we have done. And we've left really nothing off the table when we developed that course.
Amazing. Thank you. One more question, and this comes from My Non-Trad Life. Considering your newer videos are mostly 20 to 30 minutes long, how do you keep your viewers watching longer videos? Do you find people stop watching before the end of the video or watch the majority on average? And I think this relates to watch time and duration.
Okay.
Well, that's going to have a lot to do with the loyalty of your audience as well.
I think, it also depends on who your audience is. If you have children, and we have a lot of children who watch us, they will definitely watch longer because they like that constant repeated over and over and over. If you have adults, I think they will stay depending on the content. For us, what happens is we get a lot of children who will watch the whole thing,
and then watch it again.
And then watch it again and again and again. And what we do with the 20 to 30 minutes is because we know that people like to see something at one sitting and not continue every 5 minutes to keep choosing a new video. So that's really why we do that. But I will say that some people have a lot of success with just putting up 5 to 6 minute videos. Right. It all depends on what your audience is, so comfortable doing.
Got it. That's really great to hear. And I think you're right. Kids do have the ability to watch a longer piece of video, I know is really helpful for parents, especially myself. That's super cool. Rita and Marthel, I want to thank you so much for your time, sharing your story. I feel like 45 minutes is clearly not enough because there was a lot more we could have gone to. And I know in our rehearsals, we went over an hour on this. But that said, I'd like to thank everybody who's tuned in today for today's Fireside Chat. And I also like to invite everybody who has further questions, because I know there's a few Q&A we didn't address, to join our Discord. I believe the link will be below. Please come join, come say hi, and we'll take a few minutes to answer those questions. Thank you all for the time. Thank you all for VidCon Now, and we wish you all the best.